Well. It looks like Game 7 is back on the menu. What's cracking, everybody, and welcome back to Kraken R&R, where the Seattle Kraken force Game 7, and this time it feels so good as they defeat the Stars at home in Game 6, 6-3. Flipping the script from what happened the last time in Seattle in Game 4. Oh, and yes, we will definitely be streaming for Game 7, that at 5 o'clock Pacific on Monday. Hoping for a similar outcome to what we got the first time the Kraken played a Game 7, well, just a couple weeks ago. Now, I'm not gonna lie, coming into Game 6, I was sweating bullets, mostly because it was in the mid 80s and 90 degrees in the car that I drove to the game, which does not have great air conditioning, and I was wearing a sweatshirt because it's a hockey game. But either way, it was a game that, going in, I would say, in one word, I was feeling apprehensive. Because, let's face it, the Kraken had just lost back-to-back games in 4 and 5. The Stars had a similar script to end up winning their first series against the Wild in 6 games, being down 2-1 there, and then winning 3 straight to win it in those 6. Meanwhile, Grubauer, while I still don't think he had that bad of 2 games, certainly not what it seems like most people in the Kraken fan base seem to be thinking coming out of Game 5, they were still probably his 2 worst of this playoff run. And to make it all worse, the Kraken, again in Game 5, I felt like may have been the better team, but still let that game get away from them and made those mistakes to end up losing it. Thankfully though for the Kraken, even without any changes in their lineup, other than McCann for most of the game moving up to the second line, taking Geeky's spot, who moved back down to the fourth line. For the Stars, they do get Marchment back. But it was clear early on in this first period which team wanted this game more and which one had shown up to play, as the Kraken dominated this first period almost from puck drop. Which I say almost because actually the first shot on goal is a pretty good one, in tight with Rope Hintz getting that shot off, clear in front of Grubauer as he managed to get through the Kraken defense off the faceoff. Grubauer comes up with that big key save in the first, I think, 10 seconds of the game. And then it was back down the other way for the Kraken to spend not quite as much of the first period in the offensive end as they did in Game 5, but still a significant amount of this first period in that offensive end. And this time, even with once again dominating the shots on goal, they were actually able to get some pretty dangerous looks among them. Of course, none of that matters though if you don't actually get some of those dangerous looks, or shoot, it can be one of the not so dangerous ones. Either way, something has to find the back of the net, and eventually, right around the halfway point of this first period, it's Yanni Gourde, who was a man possessed here in this first period in particular, comes in and gets a bit of a pass from Tolvanen out to the side. Gourde goes down by the goal line and then swings back up in front of the net. Kind of a little looping motion here he does. Oettinger is caught right by the side of the goal and then doesn't really cover a ton of the goal past where he's just smashed up against the post. Gourde does have his first shot as he tries to get it around Oettinger, saved, but it comes off of Ottinger's pad, right back to Grubauer. That would certainly be a sight to see. Grubauer on the rush. Either way, it's Yanni Gourde who's on the rush here again, swooping up towards the net. His first shot on goal is saved by the pad of Ottinger as he tries to get it around Ottinger, but it rebounds right back out to Gourde, and this time he is able to get past Ottinger before he can stretch the leg back across the net, and the Kraken are on the board first for just the second time in this series. The first time they did that, they ended up winning the game, that one in Game 3. So for obvious reasons, you have to be feeling pretty good at this point if you're a Kraken fan. Not only is the team once again looking like clearly the better team here early on in a game that they need to win to keep their season alive, but this time they've even managed to turn it into the first goal of the game. That elation, though, of this first Kraken goal lasts for a good 31 seconds, I think it was. They don't even manage to finish announcing the Gourde goal before the Stars have a quick response right back the other way. And of course, it has to be the guy who's been the biggest pest of a Stars player in this series. Not the biggest Kraken killer, that's obviously Pavelski, but the biggest pest so far in this series, and I wouldn't go so far as to say public enemy number 1. He certainly hasn't been that way like Makar was in the first series. But either way, Marchment ends up picking up the goal here, and it is a bit of a lucky bounce that he gets off of a pass coming across from, I want to say, Domi, that ends up going off of Schultz's stick, which he does get into the passing lane, but it goes off of Schultz's stick, right off the shin of Marchment, and into Grubauer's pad, and then into the goal. Either way, the result's the same. 30 seconds later or thereabouts, the game is tied. Thankfully, at the very least, the Kraken don't allow this goal to turn into any Stars momentum, and actually, they get momentum back themselves after a minute or two after the Stars score here. And that momentum leads to the first power play of the game for the Kraken, which, based on how this series has gone so far, you could probably be forgiven for wishing the Kraken could decline a penalty. Obviously, they wouldn't even if they could, but the power play really has not shown much life throughout this series, or at least it didn't have any life right up until all of a sudden here in Game 6, even though they didn't have any practice between Game 4 and 6, all of a sudden this power play looks night and day different from what we've seen this entire Stars series and really most of the playoffs going all the way back to that series against the Avalanche. Yeah, they did have a decent first half of a power play there in Game 5, which probably this turnaround is due to McCann being back on that first unit. But either way, this power play honestly deserves to score on this first attempt. The Stars do kill it off, but the Kraken got a number of shots off on goal, and even more than shots on goal, actually had some decent scoring chances, getting the puck up towards the net and even collecting a couple rebounds. But alas, even with the fantastic player movement they were creating and some decisive passing of the puck, they're not able to score on this first power play. Happily, though, they will get a second chance on the power play not long after, and this time it does pay off. As once again, it's that first unit out there that's able to pass it around. McCann with a quick pass across to Tolvanen on the far side. Tolvanen with a one-timer is saved, but it rebounds out in front of the net where I don't know whose stick it ends up hitting here. It's just well, as Forsland would say, a bevy of humanity in front of the net. Schwartz is involved there, but it ends up out to Eberle on the far side, who just outweights Ottinger as he's tied up with his own player in the crease. And Eberle, off the backhand, puts it in past Ottinger to put the Kraken back up by 1. It's now 2-1 with the power play goal here late in the first. And thankfully for the Kraken, they are going to take that lead into the first intermission, which, it has to be said, it would have felt like a victory for the Stars if they had gotten out of this period with it still tied, based on the fact that by the end of the period, the Kraken are out shooting the Stars 16-5. And even at that, at least 2 of those Stars shots in this first period come in a power play that they get with a minute and a half left in the period, which they very nearly score on. A massive save from Grubauer and some good last minute bend but don't break defense from the penalty kill to at least kill off this power play going into the intermission to save that lead. And yes, they do finish off the last 30 seconds of the kill to start out the second period. And not long after they do, back at 5-on-5, once again, it's the Gord line out there for the Kraken, creating trouble for the Stars, and of course, it's Gord himself who finished the play the first time, but this time it starts with Gord as he gets it into the offensive end. Up along the boards, he gets to around the top of the faceoff circle and then shows some patience as he, instead of dumping it in, wheels back up towards the blue line, waiting around for someone to come in, passes up a chance to go to, I think it was Schultz that comes in first, eventually finding Bjorkstrand right down the middle. Bjorkstrand just carries the puck right through the slot until the very last second. Quick pass over to Tolvanen, and Tolvanen buries it from the tight angle, past Ottinger to give the Kraken the 3-1 lead. And I gotta say, this goal in particular, well, it always feels good to see the Kraken score, especially in the playoffs. This one was a beauty of a play, set up all the way through the neutral zone, and then that play between these 3 guys on this third line to get it up to Tolvanen, who had just managed to get lost next to the Dallas net. He finishes it for his 3rd of the playoffs and his 2nd point already in this game as he continues to prove to be probably one of the best waiver claims maybe of all time. I mean, that's a pretty bold claim, and I don't know the full history of waiver claims and what great season some guys have had, so if you have one that you think is better, I'd love to see it down in the comment section. But Tolvanen has been amazing for the Kraken throughout, obviously, the back half of the regular season. Then he scores the first ever goal in franchise history in the playoffs, and he just continues to produce with this shutdown line that all of a sudden is not just shutting down things at one end of the ice, but producing at the other. It is at this point, though, and fortunately the Kraken now have a multi-goal lead with this one from Tolvanen, because this is where the Stars really wake up into this game and, for the most part, pretty much control this first half of the second period. Even with this rush chance goal that Tolvanen gets here, the Stars are all over the Kraken trying to get back into this game. But a couple minutes later, once again against the flow of play, the Kraken on another rush, forced by a turnover by Dunn at the Kraken end of the neutral zone as he pokes a puck away from 2 Stars. He gets it up to Beniers for a 3-on-2 chance going the other way. Beniers across to Cartier, and Cartier winds up and fires it past the blocker hand of Ottinger and into the back of the net to make it 4-1 Kraken as Cartier draws even in rookie playoff goal scoring with the Stars' own Wyatt Johnston. Again, he's only played in the playoffs, and the AHL Rookie of the Year doesn't have even a game played in the AHL playoffs, where the team that he spent most of the season with in the Coachella Valley Firebirds are still deep into their playoff run, but he is in the NHL potting goals for the Kraken, 9 games into his NHL career with 3 already for the Kraken in these playoffs. Wait, just kidding, he did play 3 games of that playoff run for the Firebirds before joining the Kraken, where he actually scored 2 goals in those 3 games, so I guess he just picked up where he left off in Coachella, brought it to the NHL playoffs, and yeah, the rest is history at this point. And it also has to be said that this goal looks a lot like the second one he scored earlier on in this series against the Stars, where he's on the rush with Eberle on the other side, looks off the veteran in Eberle, fires off that shot from the top of the faceoff circle, and beats Ottinger even with a defenseman in front of him on that blocker side, and this time, it would be enough to chase Ottinger from the game, as the Stars pull him to put in Wedgwood, and unfortunately it doesn't take long at all for that to end up working out for the Stars, although I suppose Wedgwood really had nothing to do with this next one as it is on a Stars power play, but the Stars go to the power play just within seconds of Cartier scoring this 4th goal for the Kraken, and on the power play, it's pretty much just a firing range on Grubauer as the Stars win the faceoff in the Kraken end, out to Robertson. He fires off the shot, Grubauer makes the save. The Stars win the faceoff, out to Robertson. He fires off the shot, Grubauer makes the save. The Stars win the faceoff. This time, not right out to Robertson, but it's passed around a couple of times. And then the shot is right down the middle. And of course, it's Joe Pavelski with another fantastic tip right down the middle of the slot that goes past Grubauer and into the net to bring the Stars to within 2. And it is worth mentioning that I think it was pretty close, and you could make a good argument that might have been tipped in off of a high stick from Pavelski. Certainly the camera angle that's at the far end of the ice, right at that bar level, definitely makes it look like Pavelski hits this puck above the level of the bar, which would be then a high stick, and that goal would come back. But they don't end up sending it to review. It's, I would say, probably too close to call to say that it was conclusively enough to overturn a goal had the Kraken decide to challenge here, but being that, again, the Kraken still have a 2-goal lead here, and you don't want to risk sending the Stars to another power play, especially with the Stars having just scored on a power play, and then if you give them another one, they have a chance to pull to within 1, so the Kraken decide to play it safe here, don't challenge it, the goal stands, and like I said, even if they had challenged it, there's a chance that it comes off the board, but it's pretty close, and it obviously has to be 100% conclusive for them to overturn it. So probably the right call here to just play it safe and not risk giving them that second chance. On the other hand, though, the Stars are able to really ramp up the momentum following this goal that gets them back into the game, and they keep that momentum. Grubauer has to make a couple of pretty big saves. The Kraken are basically just hemmed into their end of the ice at this point, as the Stars are creeping up on that goal total. They had a ways to go after how the first period went, but they're making it pretty close as far as shots on goal are concerned, right up until they take a penalty in the Kraken end of the ice. The Kraken go to the power play, and that flips the switch right back the Kraken way as they take over for the back half of the second period. They don't end up scoring on this power play, but for the 3rd time this game, it's a power play that could have easily ended up with a puck in the back of the net. And at the very least, again, it kills off that Stars momentum and does turn it back in the Kraken favor. Even still, though, no one ends up scoring through the back half of the second. So we go to the 3rd period with the Kraken having a 2-goal lead, and it's starting to look pretty good that they could force that Game 7. Still, the Stars have already come back from down 4-2 once in Game 1, so it's definitely not over with 20 minutes left. And that fact is driven home almost right away to start out the 3rd period as the Stars get into the offensive end right away. Pavelski fires off the shot. It beats Grubauer, but doesn't beat the post behind him. But it bounces off that post right out into the crease where it's sitting for Heiskanen. And oh my god, Heiskanen comes in with the puck all alone with just him, the puck, and the net in the crease. Grubauer maybe still had a foot in the crease, but he's pretty much outside of it, trying to block off the angle from that Pavelski shot. But Heiskanen, fortunately, I guess, wasn't ready for that puck to bounce off the post right to him as it ends up going off of him and safely, mercifully wide of the post and into the corner harmlessly, where the Kraken are able to get it back out the other way. And if there has ever been an example of a sports example, at least, of the subreddit no, yes, this would definitely be it. At least from a Kraken standpoint. Anyway, I suppose if you're a Stars fan, there's yes, no, but boy, do the Kraken dodge a big bullet here, and then not long after, the Stars get another shot to go off of a post as, I mean, I suppose Grubauer was at least keeping the net part wide and leaving the rest to the plumbing behind him. Fortunately, the Kraken catch a couple of breaks there. It has to be said, really, with this third period, the Kraken survive an early onslaught from the Stars in a number of ways. They had some other opportunities that didn't hit posts, but just rebounded in ways that they couldn't get the follow-up shots on. And I have to say that that was kind of a nice thing to see, as the Stars have been getting some bounces throughout this series. And outside of the first one that they got on that early, or the first response goal with the one from Marchment, they did not have a ton of puck luck after Marchment got that one. Ugh. And the Kraken survive this third period in a comeback from the Stars, definitely in part from that. But a little luck can only bail you out for so long, so thankfully the Kraken are able to collect themselves defensively, where it had been a sloppy period to say the least to start out here in the third. They're able to slow things down, get themselves put back together in their end of the ice, and start to kill off some clock. Eventually, around the 7-minute mark, the Stars end up getting a power play, which it has the feeling that this could be the make or break point of this game either way. If the Stars score on it, they're to within one goal and could very well build momentum off of that to end up tying the game, and then who knows what happens from there. Meanwhile, if the Kraken can kill this off, then you've got basically 10 minutes left in this game, and a good kill could go a long way towards building momentum in Seattle's favor. And sure enough, that's just what happens, as the Kraken do kill off this power play incredibly well. They don't even allow a shot attempt on goal, I'm pretty sure. They do get a shorthanded rush chance, which they eventually decide to just waste more time with instead of actually taking a shot, as they were going to end up getting defended. So it would have been a high-scoring opportunity. Either way, probably the right decision there to play it safe. Make sure that you protect that 2-goal lead and just kill off as much clock on that power play as you can. And it pays off as well, because right after the power play comes to an end, the Kraken get a rush chance now at 5-on-5, and this time they are looking to score, as it's Eberle and Beniers on the 2-on-1. Eberle gets it across to Beniers, and Beniers winds up and just puts it right past the blocker side of Wedgwood at this point. A similar shot to what Cartier scored on his third of the playoffs. Beniers gets his third, and now the 3 leading rookie NHL goal scorers of these playoffs are in this series, with Wyatt Johnston already having 3 coming into this game, and now both Beniers and, of course, as everyone expected, Cartier tying Johnston with 3 in these playoffs. And also with this Beniers goal, the Kraken now have a 3-goal lead in the back half of the third, so we can all breathe a sigh of relief and just start looking forward to Game 7. But no. Wouldn't be the Kraken if they didn't make things interesting late in the game, and 16 seconds later, the Stars get another quick response goal as they're right down the ice, and it's a shot from up by the blue line that's tipped pretty nicely at the side of the net, off of the post and in past Grubauer, to give the Stars the 3rd goal of the game and pull them back to within 2, which still is a decent hill to climb with 9 minutes left, but definitely not impossible. Fortunately, the Kraken do lock things down defensively the rest of the way. Eventually, the Stars go empty net with 4 minutes left, and the Kraken, at that man disadvantage, or 6-on-5 with the empty net, do a fantastic job of keeping the Stars to the outside, thanks in large part to some monster shifts, first by Eberle and then by Bjorkstrand with some help from Gord there as well. Eberle even at one point kind of just curling up around the puck behind the Dallas net when the Kraken got it down there, not able to hit the empty net right away, but that kills off some time. And eventually, as the clock ticks past the 1 minute left in the game mark, it's Eberle, empty net, and we will have a Game 7 as he finds the back of it to give the Kraken that 6th goal of the game, the 6-3 win, and we're to Dallas for a winner-take-all Game 7. So it is a 6-3 win for the Kraken, but for the second game in a row, it's a multi-goal margin of victory for the winning team that honestly felt like it came off of a game that was a lot closer than that. Either way, I mean, maybe that's just the trying to defend a lead in a game where you have to win, otherwise your season's over, that's talking there. Either way, this is one where the Stars definitely had their chances to get back into the game, even after what was a dominant first period from the Kraken. The Stars had a big answer there in the first half of the second period, and then, yeah, they definitely had some bounces go against them to start out the third that kept the Kraken with that multi-goal lead. From a Kraken standpoint, though, this is exactly, or close to exactly, the style of game that you want to see this team playing in a do-or-die Game 6, and then again in a similar situation in Game 7. with that fast start, dominant in the first period, importantly getting on the board first, even outside of, I mean, we saw what happened in game 5. The Kraken had a pretty dominant first period there as well, but just weren't able to get things to the inside in the offensive end, and as a result, the Stars got on the board first, even with the Kraken massively outshooting them. This time, they massively outshot the Stars again, but actually created some good scoring chances in and around the net, which led to that early lead that they were, I mean, they lost it 30 seconds later, but got it back later with another big key here. A just night and day, massively improved power play out of nowhere. Don't know where that came from, but I'm happy to see it later than never. And the Kraken are, again, yeah, you'd probably like to have a better start to the second period. Certainly, the Stars came out to prove something in that second period to try and take this game back. And then, yeah, the Kraken got a couple of fortunate bounces there at the start of the third. Still, I think the Stars have been getting a little bit more puck luck throughout the series to this point, so that was bound to bounce back the other way eventually. Outside of that, really, the only thing you might like to see the Kraken clean up in this game would be those quick response goals. Certainly, it doesn't feel great at home when the opposing team scores midway through the announcement of a home goal. Either way, the Kraken managed to survive 2, you could say 3 of those quick response goals in this game, with the power play goal for the Stars, game time wise, not coming long after Cartier's goal. Regardless of all of it, though, obviously the important thing is that the Kraken came away with that win and now have forced a game 7 where, I mean, again, it wouldn't be the Kraken if they weren't testing the heart health of their fans here in Seattle. And I guess everywhere else for that matter. And so with that in mind, in the effort to save some energy to give myself a chance of getting through game 7 and then the video afterwards, we're gonna close things out here with the Kraken 3 stars, where I gotta say there's gonna be a couple of guys here where it's gonna feel bad that they don't end up getting stars in this game. A number of Kraken players played games that the Kraken needed to have to end up winning this game. But the 3 most notable ones, the first star, I'm not going to argue with the official one, Eli Tolvanen, a 3-point night, starts out with that goal, or actually starts out with an assist, but then gets a goal a little bit later and comes back with another assist later on in the game. Then after that, Yanni Gourde, again, the first period was just, honestly, I don't know what else I can say about the first period other than it was a show being put on by Yanni Gourde, almost single-handedly creating that momentum for the Kraken that they maintained throughout the first period. The rest of the team definitely followed Gourde into that, but it was Gourde after that early press from the Stars that really made this first period happen for the Kraken and got them that early lead. And then the third star, well, like I said, it feels bad that I can't give one to Beniers or even Schultz, who had a good game, a couple of other guys. It's hard not to go with Eberle. He gets 2 goals in the game, but creating a number of plays and was in on the rush on a number of occasions for the Kraken. If by the end of whatever this playoff run is for the Kraken, someone is going to pass Jaden Schwartz, and actually I thought Jaden Schwartz up until this point was a runaway for the Kraken MVP in these playoffs, Eberle is definitely getting into that conversation. Gourde, actually, for that matter, also very much in that conversation, as well as Grubauer, even if this wasn't necessarily the strongest game from Grubauer. I mean, I wouldn't say he had a bad game. I do think he played better than what his save percentage looks like. Save percentage definitely doesn't always tell the full story. Still, the first goal that he let in, even if it is off of a bit of a lucky bounce off the shin of Marchment, it doesn't go in if Grubauer is quicker to respond to that pass going across. Still, he made some pretty big saves, especially in the second period and then early part of the third, that kept the Kraken lead safe throughout the course of this game. Yeah, he's going to need to be pretty stellar in Game 7 if the Kraken want to win that one, and he has been a little bit more shaky in these last 3 games. Still, he gives the Kraken the best chance to win in net, and let's be honest, gave the Kraken a better chance to win this game than Ottinger did for the Stars. Anyway, all that aside, 3 stars for the Kraken, Tolvanen number 1, Gourde number 2, and I could see an argument for Gourde being number 1, and then, yeah, Eberle 3, though I can see arguments for Beniers, Schultz, or even Cartier as well in that third spot. Also, I want to mention real quick, since we've talked about how bad the faceoffs have been for the Kraken throughout this series, they do still lose the faceoff battle in this game, but only by 3. The Stars got 36 faceoff wins and the Kraken 33, so hey, that's as close, I think, as we're going to get to winning the faceoff battle in this series as ever. With that, though, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section if you haven't given them already. How excited we are about forcing a Game 7, where last time going into Game 7, even though the Kraken won it, it didn't feel great because they had to lose Game 6 at home to get there. Either way, it's a second Game 7, and the Kraken are undefeated in Game 7s in the playoffs. That's only one, but still is what it is. Either way, let me know your thoughts, who your 3 stars would be, and hope to see you for that stream coming up here on Monday again. 5 o'clock Pacific. Yeah. Till then, if you made it to this point, thank you very much for watching. If you liked or enjoyed this video, there are buttons for that kind of stuff down below to help support the channel and help you coming back for that stream and video after Game 7 either way. Until then, stay safe out there, be good to each other. God bless and go Kraken!